There's been a lot of active discussion, and it's been quite challenging in the last 20 minutes to try to get an overview from all of our facilitators from the workshops, because there's been a lot of very heated debate, a lot of excitement as well as that, and a lot of identification of the pinch points, which we intended when we constructed the conference.
These were the pinch points, really. This is directed at politicians, and people trying to influence politicians. What would you do, politicians, to move us away from this target culture which seems so deeply embedded in everything, and get us towards outcomes? The second is related. How would you move drugs and alcohol work out of the silo it's got itself into? You know, it's the NTA and the criminal justice system, and that's where it's parked. The third question, as the treatment paradigm, you know, the National Treatment Agency, gone about as far as it usefully can, and do we now need to look for another one? Maybe one which is more to do with social care. The fourth question, what do we do to ensure that there's enough money sustainable to keep the specialist services that you will still need? How does that work?
How do we make sense of that? How do we get away from a target culture to an outcomes-based culture without completely discounting any good work that have happened through setting targets? Jonathan, can I throw that to you?
I had to fill in my entry to who's who, and I expect somebody here at least has done this in their life, and there's a slot which says education, and I filled it in up till this point. May not be the most popular of institutions, but I filled it in Eton, Oxford. I now put Eton, Oxford and HMP Belmarsh because I've had an education, which I hope I'm using to good effect, which means that I've had both a worm's eye view and a bird's eye view of the criminal justice system. The reality of you know, what the statistics must look like to a modern Minister Whitehall and the reality of how the statistics can be operated on the ground are two very different things. How do we end that? Well, I think first of all, there's a general realization that the target culture has actually failed. All these targets were set and they ended up not by being an improvement in services, but just sort of rather meaningless ticking the boxes all too often. You need to have not sort of Whitehall supervision of targets, so much as local, or even, dare I say, local judiciary sometimes, supervision of targets.
The administration that's still in power at the moment is now realising that across education, health, welfare, criminal justice, those targets have backfired. They have made individual workers almost the prisoners of computers and bureaucracy and form filling. And it's not just us, it's nurses and teachers and everybody else as well. I think this government has also now realised that they have alienated swathes of people working in those sectors. I think they've also realised that swathes of people working in those sectors will not be voting Labour in the next election unless they substantially change.
I think that if national bodies such as the NTA could actually do something like we're trying to do here today and have a dialogue and a discussion and look for ways forward within an overall framework, they might be a lot more successful in the outcomes that they seek to achieve. I also think that the game that is targets is a game, and I think it's a very, very damaging and expensive game. But my view is a very simple one, and that is that the more complex you make targets, the more people play the game, and the more manipulation can take place.
Throughout the day, there was an absolute buzz in those workshops, and if you could have bottled it was really worth having. So let's follow it up. Let's keep that sort of energy going.
That if there are thoughts or issues or questions that have come out of today that you haven't voiced during the course of it, could you let us know for the write-up of In Drink and Drugs News? You can find all our contact details at drinkandrugsnews.com. you can get in touch with us. We've got all the notes from all of the workshops, so we'll be working through those and picking out the issues that were mentioned in each corner of those workshops. But if there is something that you really want to get through there for the issue of writing all this up, please do email us.